he's lived in western Michigan for quite a while now. He's a former newspaper editor and reporter, the author of poetry collections, the most recent being Ha 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 Thump, not Trump, but Thump, from Sundress Press, published in 2015, and also of the chapbooks The Insomniac Circus, a map of the farm 3 miles from the end of Happy Hollow, published by Pork Belly in 2016. He teaches Grand Valley State U. And I've been reading his work for about 3 years now, and I was very happy to publish it in Peninsula Poets, the Journal for the Poetry Society of Michigan, when I was editing it up till last fall. And a poem I'm particularly fond of is entitled, "It occurred to me today that I will probably die in Michigan," something I hope you'll be hearing tonight. I'd like to read a few words that the poet and critic David Kirby says about it. Amorak Huey is not only a witty and keen-eyed poet, but a consummate magician, directing our gaze to one thing even as he prepares to show us something better. Thus, one poem declares in its title that it is about wallpaper, not breasts. In another, the Pope imagines himself a married man. And if that's not magic, I don't know what is. Like a 21st century abracadabra, the phrase "ha ha ha thump" serves as the title of this collection and then recurs as a poem title not once, but 5 times, cracking the ordinary world open to reveal the wonders within. Let's hear Amorak Huey.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for having me. Thanks for coming out to hear some poems tonight. Thanks to Ed and John and David for inviting me to here. Thanks for your great poems to start off. That was great.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So I'm going to read some poems from my book and then some newer stuff, and then I'll end with some poems from the chapbook. And I'm going to start. Well, I'm going to start with start low, right? Instead of starting high, I'll set the bar low. It'll set a tone that I don't think I can live up to. This poem is called Mick Jagger's Penis Turned 69. Mick Jagger's penis is pleased to meet you. Mick Jagger's penis is the John Lennon's penis of penises. Also the Steven Tyler Scarf collection of penises. The David Lee Roth mid-air crotch thrust. The Gene Simmons codpiece. The Axl Rose attitude of penises. This is a lot of pressure for a penis. Big shoes for a penis to fill. Mick Jagger's penis doesn't ask for much these days. Mick Jagger's penis is strongly influenced by the blues and knows whom this song is about. There are 2 versions of Mick Jagger's penis. The one the world sees and the one that lies awake at night and worries it has let someone down. Sometimes it wants to be remembered, to leave its mark on the world. It wants to be more than footnote, punchline, punching bag. Sometimes it just wants to be held. It's funny. It grows weary of everything having 2 meanings. If you ask Mick Jagger's penis about its dreams, it will tell you about a certain lightning storm over a certain lake, which means nothing more or nothing less than what it was, the dark water, the sky splitting open. I have a fondness for long titles, and this poem has a long title. It's the New York Post runs a photo of a man about to be killed by a subway train, and everyone on the internet looks at it. Thank goodness our living rooms are immaculate. No shame in keeping plastic sheeting over the good love seat until the pastor comes by. Of course, it's no trouble to put on tea and talk about the new neighbors, moved from just such a place, where a man could fall or be pushed into the path of a train. But they seem like they'll fit in here. Our motto is, wait your turn. Our motto is, keep your shit to yourself. Our motto is, we know the lyrics to many lovely songs. We like our mysteries solved within the hour, our cornbread served without punctuation. We are skeptical of too much flavor and well aware when condescended to. We teach our children that it's not blood or bone, but hope that hurts. So forgive us when we close our laptops and exit the room to rake the season's last leaves into the street and take the retriever for a walk in the evaporating light. Let us erase this image from ourselves and erase ourselves from this image until they are all that remains. The man who sees what's coming, another man with no way to stop, the photographer's flash, pitiful distant star. This is Nocturne at the Grill. I do this impression of myself, only not so funny. Husband, father, provider, overcooking meat for my family, charring the remains of a chicken or two because I too am bitter I cannot fly. Take that, flight. Take this, flame. Take that once living creature whose severed muscle has become my meal. Everything I do less well than my grandfathers would have. I regret the mounds of junk in my garage, the crusted floorboards of my dented car. My toolbox is full of bent nails and drywall dust. It takes me 30 minutes to find a screwdriver, and then I'm unsure what to do with it. Something about twisting, tightening, firming up the loose or leaky connections of my life. Probably I should be a vegetarian, but my heart would miss the blood, or so I tell myself. And here, I am thinking of you, reaching for me after the children go to bed, thinking of your flesh and form and the heat between bodies. Fire that cannot be contained in a metal box, not even this very fancy one of chrome and black, which we picked out together at Lowe's, or maybe it was Target. Self-portrait as my grandparents at dusk, Bon Secours Beach. So many waves are borne out beyond our complaints. Stairs rise from this sand toward laboring stars in a city that promises to hold us for the night. You're asking what it means, but it's easier to say nothing. To imagine a different gulf, a different comma of twilight curling dark gold above our heads. Different gulls disappearing from a different sky. It's all silhouette and contrast anyway. Young men nearby laugh and break glass, thump their heart cages in time to the music that tumbles from novas and chargers. Such astounding certainty in these shining metal shapes. Once we were so good with our hands. Let us say we do live forever. Say our sons and our sons' sons have gathered to sing and we have come to listen. The sand is cold. The water is clear. Your hands are cold. You have trouble breathing. We invented this landscape out of language and hope and hunger. Say our daughters carry our silence with them as they board that boat already pitching into the darkness. Say they send a bottle of flames back through the salt. Who are we to be afraid? We may not be given the ending we desired. There is no ending. Still, we must kneel, must ask. This is She Blinded Me with Molecular Nanotechnology. First thing in the morning, we're already trying on hats, scrubbing away at smeared cells. Size matters, but not the way you think. Mirror steams. We finger scrawl messages in this fog, think ourselves original. I shave. She showers and provides perspective. A nanometer is the length my beard grows in the time it takes to lift razor from sink to skin. Even the smallest spot of blood holds all our secrets. Those lies I've told or thought or lived staining this tearaway tissue against my neck. The deaths I've beaten and the one I won't enmeshed in that fragile twisted code. Think of the stories this blade could tell. Bless you. To answer questions before they are asked, this is marriage, or science, or close enough. We think we are permanent, but that's only temporary. Hurricanes coming. the oceans a mess, those who care already putting value to damage. We are not insured against flood. Someone launches invisible wires into the storm to measure the strength of impossible, the color of wind. The more we know, the more we know. If you can collect the wires after, you can rule the world. We collapse into bed, we mouth and skin and savor and pretend our touching has purpose. We passive each other's aggressive and call it communication. We are without power for days. We are not alone. We are still wobbly from last week's earthquake, which we never saw coming. Tomorrow remains our blind spot, but we're working on it. Married 4 years, and I still don't understand what she does when she's somewhere else, or the way her mind moves, even when she tells me the key is finding atoms of similar size and stickiness. This is the future. This is fiction. This is the world's smallest electrical motor controlled by chemists at 450 degrees below zero, rotating in a way that is not random. Hey, it's something. Its vanishing point and given day, and the discovery that makes possible a new kind of miracle. This is proper noun, payday, pitfall. We need a special microscope to talk to each other anymore. We're still trying to replicate the subatomic sophistication of the potato. We scan and tunnel, and every system leads to another until there is no molecule we cannot create from scratch. 10 years ago, we thought we were 10 years from having enough tiny robots to live happily ever after. Maybe nothing has changed. Maybe everything. Imagine the heart that heals itself. This is another sciencey one. It's called At the Whim of Human Fancy. We have accelerated the evolution of chickens. This is one way to talk about progress, to look back without nostalgia. Scientists suggest hens' newly yellow skin has something to do with the ability to lay eggs year-round, and so it always comes down to hunger. I don't know why I don't write you more letters. I don't know why in my dreams the desert seems to be a place of great mystery, cactus and some sort of quest. I expect you have stopped waiting by now. After so many trips to any empty mailbox, even the sky will fall out of love with the sand. Even if we could start over, would we? I grew up with chickens. Did I tell you that? And goats, and the occasional pig. It was my job to feed them all. I hated the responsibility. Of course, there's never one right way to do anything, but there are as many wrong ways as spines on a saguaro. It's kind of genius, as painful ways to spread seeds across the land go. The barb on the needle that keeps it holding on. It might sound like I'm talking about God, but it could also mean I'm more trusting than I used to be. Faith has nothing to do with it. I can do just less than enough, over and over. I can fall short and shorter. The chickens are wider, more productive, more agreeable. All this within a handful of generations. I don't know what else you expect from me. This is a prose poem called The Visible Path of a Meteoroid is sometimes called a falling star. Let's say it's about you. Say you see a meteor on your evening walk, bright green and lifting from somewhere far to somewhere farther, all forward momentum, rising action, narrative arc. You hold your husband's hand and pretend to make the same wish. Back at home, you tell of the beauty you have witnessed. Say your friends immediately like the update. Say you have trouble sleeping. Say you dream of lilac bushes and maybe snowstorms, the Iowa kind, terrible fury and swirl. You need a clothesline to venture from house to barn without disappearing into the crush and cold and dark. Maybe a father did not make it home. Maybe a brother. The mystery remains, though you crave resolution. Even an unhappy ending is at least an ending. Say you write a news status. No one likes this one. Your friends are no longer online. When you look out the window, the meteor is not there as you knew it would not be. Not green, but emptiness folding in on itself where green used to be. hand over hand, the rope brittle in the wind. There's a poem in here in 4 sections called The Poet and the Supermodel, A Rearranged Marriage. I'll just read a couple sections of it. And the title of each of them is an anagram for Heidi Klum. So, there are not a lot of great anagrams for Heidi Klum. So the title of the first one is Like Humid. The rain and the wind won't stop. We cancel our picnic plans to sit on opposite ends of the couch and tweet our small arguments to the world. I have to remind Heidi not to bring the judging home. The children are not contestants. Her affection not a prize to be earned. We should all have permanent immunity. She cocks her eyebrow, says again, one day you're in, the next day you're out. A joke exactly as funny as the first time she used it. I answer, as I always do, that I mate for life. She won't get out of this marriage so easily, and we both spend some time wondering about this salt water we've fallen into. Her face is on TV selling something neither of us wants. Let's go upstairs and fool around, one of us says. The kids will be home any minute, the other one says. Each of us disappears into the other's vague disappointment. Heidi says, I brought you something, and it's another shirt I hate. At some point, I should be honest about desire, but I cannot put the words in any order that makes as much sense as the shape that lingers in the air when she walks into or out of the room. And this is another great anagram, I hewed milk. Relationships are anagrams of other relationships, as poems reassemble what was written before. Heidi understands this before I do. What are you writing? She asks. Letter to a friend, I say, and hide my paper. The weather has nothing to do with what's happening inside, but it's an easy mistake. Left untouched, flesh cools to the temperature of the air around us. Like anything, Heidi knows me better than I know myself. She is making coffee cake from a box mix. The house smells of cinnamon and sugar, artificial preservatives, and easy sentiment. I would rather be fed than ask if I am hungry. And the last poem in the book is another one with a long title. This is inspired by Matthew Olsman's poem, another Michigan poet. Matthew Olsman's poem, Mountain Dew commercial disguised as a love poem, which is one of my favorite poems. And so I stole the concept. And this is Ars Poetica, disguised as a love poem, disguised as a commemoration of the 166th anniversary of the rescue of the Donner Party. This is life, a series of difficult choices ending in death. Sorry, Siri's talking to me. I thought I put that on silent mode, but I guess not. I just wanted to keep track of the times. So I'll start over again. This is life, a series of difficult choices ending in death. Along the way, try not to judge too harshly. Share what you have, but not all of it. Also, avoid shortcuts during winter months or late fall, lest your own late fall yield a new way of tasting the world. Limb and root, outcome and inspiration. The height of the stumps reveals the depth of the snow, as the brightness now is equal to the blindness later, as today will be rewritten tomorrow. It's why we must keep moving. Somewhere in the middle distance, an ocean rises like a great column of light, beckons like the salt and sweat of a first kiss. This is why we carry on so. Knowing hunger is but the first test. Like this, only faster. The season turns, the wind's slow sway, the frostbite and flame, the infection creeping. I thought myself too tired to go on. Then you appeared, as if from California or heaven, and held out your hand. My ghost bones stirred. I let you in, you carried me out. And I'll read a few newer poems. This one is called Driving Home After Thanksgiving. We learned that Ariana Grande has been named Artist of the Year. which is true. Dark when we depart, dark when we arrive. In between, we listen to pop music, complain about the never-endingness of Indiana, pretend we are not bored of our own company. This is the nature of time, every moment of life a metaphor for all the others. Ariana Grande played Kat in that show the kids used to watch, played the same character in a second show, this new incarnation peacocking up the most attention-hungry traits of the original. The arc of the self always bends toward caricature. She also sings a little less conversation, a little more touch my body, a Nobel-worthy sentiment for sure, and I'm only mostly kidding. I can't say aloud how these lyrics rumple my blood because my kids are here, and they have no idea how much I think about desire, how much I desire. I offer instead a half-assed diatribe on material girl and self-determination, the passage of time and the corporatization of music. My thesis and all my supporting evidence are things I assume or do not quite remember. My wife is rolling her eyes. My kids have tuned out. I am alone. I have been driving so long, my body will still feel in motion days from now. We are quiet for miles. Green signs count down our remaining journey. Out of nowhere, my daughter asks, what would happen if someone built a city but forgot to make roads to connect it to anywhere else? People would eventually find it, I say, which is sort of an answer, sort of a prayer. The girl on the unicycle. My life has led me to a one-way street lined with two-story houses across from much larger homes, and a neighbor girl riding a unicycle, which she does with no particular grace, but a great deal of earnestness. A skunk has died under someone's porch. It's a thing to talk about. The carcass is gone, but the odor lingers. For how long, we all wonder. My life is one out-of-body experience after another. Another neighbor offers a beer. We talk about our kids. He is younger than I am, but seems more comfortable here. His wife grew up a few miles from where we stand. She babysat the children of our local grocery magnate. Everyone starts somewhere. My life has not stopped feeling like practice for some other life that's just around the corner. She is not practicing for anything, the girl on the unicycle. She is not performing. She is learning to disappear into the ride. There is only this single wheel against the sidewalk, and effort, and balance, and maybe something like pleasure. This is Dungeon Master's Guide to 8th Grade. And it begins with an epigraph from the Dungeon Master's Guide to Dungeon Master. As long as your campaign remains viable, it will continue a slow process of change and growth. And that's from Gary Gygax. When you come back in the fall of 1983, your friends listen to Z103 instead of Kix 106. Luke Skywalker isn't cool anymore, and they might still watch the A-Team, but no one talks about it. Will you search each room or move on quickly? Roll for traps. Boys swear like their uncles. Armpit hair is a status symbol. The lunchroom is an unguarded wilderness of potential humiliation. So is conversation. This is when every girl is out of your league, when you realize such leagues even exist. It's Panama Jack shirts and parachute pants. It's when neatness begins to count in algebra and earth science and how you part your hair. It's when art is no longer for everyone, when size matters. Roll for attributes, choose alignments, every outcome will matter forever. The halls smell like hairspray and belch. The Cold War heats up. There are drills for when the Russians attack. Basically, duck. This is when curveballs actually curve. The kid who used to play short is in right. The kid who played right field is in the band. Some new kid, the star of every team. The answers are all behind the screen. You stop mentioning your interests. Start planning evasive action to survive from homeroom to history. Life happens one period at a time. It's turn-based and someone else's move. Roll and roll again. Each day's final bell is a tally mark scratched into painted cinder block. The world is populated with non-player characters. Later, you'll see there's always a Cold War somewhere. Not every dragon lives in a dungeon. The last to realize this dies first. This is another prose poem. It's called Ginsburg in Kalamazoo. So as Ed said, I was born in Kalamazoo. I grew up in Alabama, but I was born in Kalamazoo, and I lived there for just a few years, and then I moved to the South, and so it just sort of fortuitously ended up in Michigan. So a lot of my poems are about either Michigan or Alabama, or not quite feeling like I fit either place, but also feeling at home both places. And this is sort of exploring, I guess, my origin story, or my dad's origin story, I guess. So it's called Ginsburg in Kalamazoo. After doing a reading for the rich kids at the Liberal Arts College, Allen Ginsberg ends up at the house my father shares with his friend Bob and whoever else is around. There's music and weed, and Ginsberg is telling everyone that the scarf he's wearing is the same one Dylan wore on the cover of Blonde on Blonde, this tweedy flannel houndstooth thing. Herb Scott is there trying to get Ginsberg to agree to take a look at some new poems, but Ginsberg is looking for someone to seduce, some Midwestern farmer's kid still trying to figure out who he is, corn-fed and hungry for something new. It's not working out for the poet or for the hypothetical kid waiting to be entered by the language of disruption. This is a hell of a city, Ginsberg says to my father. You've got to get out of here. My father, watching the evening unfold in a variety of directions, is 24 and stick skinny and already surprised by how his life is turning out. You always know when you're doing something for the first time, but you don't know until later whether it will be the last or only. Even then, you don't know for sure. A year later, in this same house, my mother's water breaks while she's hanging lights on the Christmas tree, and that's when I enter the story, though I like to pretend I was there all along. My dad says some of that is true. And says, it's not your poem, it's all true. This is called How I Got This Way. Often in the movie version, they'll connect the main villain to the hero's origin story, even if that's not how it really happened. This is in the interest of a compelling narrative. Like that time you went to church camp over spring break and came back to ask whether I believed in God, and I said yes. You broke up with me anyway, because of God, or maybe it was because of the boy across the street, or the boy who got the spot I wanted on the varsity baseball team. I've lost track, but it all works better if this story is about you, and not Amy, or April, or Tracy, or some other girl I've half remembered and half invented. The blood in my mouth hurts more if all the lies are for you. Like, do you believe that snake in the Garden of Eden is really the same guy from the end times? That's just a trope to help us see how seeds planted early on bear fruit later in the story. Do you see what I did there? I did it for you. The way I went to that church to hear you sing, to watch you worship, to see what shape faith takes when it takes the shape of your body. Ouroboros, Alabama. The town eventually swallowed itself and doubled in size. On the highway toward the next town was a fire extinguisher factory. Now they make small children there. The children grow up and breed. It's all very self-contained. The ice cream stand closed and became a different ice cream stand, which also closed. Once we had a barbecue joint we all liked, but no one ate there. It was red and shaped like the hole a barn would leave if it ran through a wall and left a hole shaped like a barn. The sign in front said open for breakfast, but that was a long time ago. Every year, someone young died trying to cross the tracks before the train came. The trains were only 4 or 5 cars long, but young people are in such a hurry. Some of us drowned instead, after drinking wine coolers down by the baseball fields and forgetting about the river, the old bridge. Beats dying of a broken heart, the survivors would say. If it sounds like we didn't care, it's only because you haven't seen us in our church clothes. Most of us stuck around, but some of us left and sent postcards with cryptic messages and pictures that imply we are somewhere sexy. We are careful not to say, wish you were here, because that's the opposite of what anyone wishes. Landfall. We are 200 miles inland, but directly in the path, and already the sky is heavy and green and the rain tastes of salt. Our driveway is underwater. The goats are restless, bleeding. The chickens huddle. Earlier, our parents lost patience with each other and my father took the truck. The lights are flickering, the power wavering. Each past hour becomes a link in the chain of an uncertain narrative. In other words, the ending has not been written, will not be written today, unless it is. The wind brings the smell of the sea and scraps of trash that tap and jazz across the yard. The lightning draws nearer, the thunder grows louder, like sheets of corrugated tin rattling in the back of a pickup bouncing along a long dirt road. We were born for weather like this, a storm we might survive but will not escape. Self-portrait as Dustin Hoffman in Tootsie. Divorce unshapes our family into a set of occasionally intersecting lines. It means more movies, more swearing, more time in cars. Transitions are shaped like doorknobs. For the first time, hours are countable. I learned early the importance of ritual and mask, the way silence falls from the light slicing through the darkness over our heads, a wedge widening until it reaches the blank screen and becomes someone else's adventure story. I am too young for any of this. The world isn't waiting for me to be the right age. I whisper profanity, but no one hears me. I speak with a New York accent for the entire year I am 12. I am waiting for my life to include an apartment, a roommate, a party on the roof of a building made of glass and sex and alcohol. Maybe cigarettes. I will wear whatever you ask me to, but it never was about the shimmering dress, the eyeliner, the foundation. It was always about Jessica Lange's mouth and how the life you deserve is worth lying for. The boy who believed in the girl who did not believe in God. You're supposed to be learning something about Emily Dickinson and the Yellow Rose of Texas, but no one's sure why it matters. The girl is drawing a butterfly on the soft skin of the inside of the boy's forearm with a blue ballpoint Bic. His mistake is thinking skin is the word that matters. His mistake is thinking ink, thinking heartbeat and fingertip. The average lifespan for most species of butterfly is a month, and the girl knows better than to ask for an exception. She knows the season will outlast this restlessness she feels. She knows the boy's desire should not be confused with her own. The lesson is about rhythm, is about faith. The elegy arrives too late to change anything, which is sort of the definition of elegy. Elegy for a boy who no longer exists. Elegy for the girl he loves, or loved once, one late spring or early summer, a season spent in the back seat of her mother's Taurus, a cassette of Cinderella's new album draining the battery and curfew fast approaching. Elegy for the sweetness in how they reach for each other, for the guitar solos collecting in their eyelashes. This is the year the river floods. The river floods every year until the shape of the river is the shape of a flood. He asks her to turn on the dome light because he wants to see her. She says, let's take a walk instead. They should already be on their way home, but they are so young, and the air is so warm, the water so dark, and their footing so uncertain. For a while, you think someone is going to drown, but it's not that kind of elegy. So my most recent chapbook, long title, as you can tell, it's called A Map of the Farm 3 Miles from the End of Happy Hollow Road. And I grew up on a farm, on a street called Happy Hollow Road. And I was thinking about that place as exploring that farm and thinking about the idea of a map as a driving force behind these poems. And so each of the poems takes place at a milestone or a place that I remember within that 60-acre farm. And so it's I don't know, it's about exploring how that place doesn't exist anymore in the way that it did when I lived there. And even if I went back, even if it was all still there, it wouldn't be the same. And so thinking about maps is kind of a time marker, right? They mark a place as it exists at the moment you make the map. And so these poems are about trying to go back and recreate that map. This is the first one in the book, is the pond in the corner of the yard. It seems so important that I get this right. Memory choked with algae, memory dried to nothing in the summer, memories post-dawn sky already fevered with desire, memories grass grabbing wet at my hungry ankles. I remain the same lonely child I was, never having learned the rules of prayer. Instead, I offered this uncurling body, this frog song, tornado spike, voice from the trees, the word green, the word green, the word green. Because these poems are about nostalgia in some ways and about the land. These are quieter poems than many of my others. There's no rock stars going to tell you these poems. And they're more meditative and thinking about the quietness of the place. This is the ditch around the edge of the garden. The earth turned inside out. The earth scarred by shovel blade, by hoe edge. Like any of us, water seeks the easiest path to the river. As the moon knifes across the sky, we are frost-weary, rain-hungry, almanac in hand. We are moat diggers, barefoot dancers. You can't really hearing these poems out loud, but a lot of these compound phrases, they're hyphenated because I was thinking about connection and thinking about place as a connection and thinking about language and putting these words together and how they exist simultaneously. So I was creating words by hyphenating these words. The peach tree in the center of the compost pile. For years we waited, or so I remember. One peach a year, or two maybe, or four, each the size of a toddler's fist and pebble hard, more stone than flesh. Oh, broken promises. Oh, gnarled limb, black bark, twisted trunk, test of faith. The tire swing on the walnut tree. We cannot separate the seasons from the weather, or the weather from its erosion of all we build. The art is in replacing the rope just before it breaks. We depend on each other for push, for momentum, for rescue. No one learns to fly alone. It's all finger stain and invented memory, dappled sky, and hang on tight. The old tractor in the shed. The language of getting to work, square mouth and scuffed knuckle, roar and grumble, lurch and rattle, the perpetual promise of Stalin. To remain still is to plant nothing. To turn the earth is its own reward. The barn at the end of the path. Shelter, simple as that. My mother with a hammer, my grandfather atop a ladder. Our need for warmth is outweighed only by our hunger for structure. Work song, work strong, work weary. A dozen creosote-coated poles, a truckload of rough-cut lumber. The barn this will become, the barn it already used to be. And if you haven't spent much time in the South, you might not know about kudzu. But kudzu is a vine that they brought in for ground cover that turned out to thrive in the South, in the climate of the South. And so it thrives so much that it's a nuisance now. It's everywhere. It chokes out forests. You can kill trees. And it was ubiquitous in the South. And so this poem is the kudzu everywhere. Trying to write failing, to write memory, I write family instead. We are invasive species, colonists, trespassers brazening past shotgun-pocked signs that rust against pine trunk and fence post. We climb, coil, trail. We do not intend harm. We take only what we need, but we need so much. Eventually, the world forgets what it looked like without us. Swallowed tree, covered dirt, buried past. Trying to write green, I cannot find the word green enough. We came here from somewhere else. Frost is temporary. Fire does not touch the roots. And then I'll read a few more newer ones. This is called The Problem with Burning Down Your Own House, which is a poem I wrote, started last spring, and it resonates differently for me now after November 9th and January 20th. The problem with burning down your own house is shivering in the front yard in your underwear, pretending you're as upset as everyone else while the world watches, hoping no one smells kerosene on your breath. The problem with falling down a curving flight of stairs is exactly what you think it is, the soft spot in your skull. There's a word for that, fontanelle. This is not the same thing as the smooth white coating on a wedding cake, though it's close. The problem with confusion is the confusion. The problem with guns is narrative inevitability, the ending obvious, the only mystery how long it takes to get there. Same problem with being born. Same problem with falling in love. The problem with passionate long-distance affairs is 9/11 and the subsequent need to show ID at the front desk. I live in Michigan, which is fine, except during winter, which is always. The world continues to get in my way. That is the problem with geography. The problem with being white is you're allowed to forget you're white. The problem with forgetting is not knowing when it's happening. The problem with cigarettes is disposal of the butt. Field stripping's a lost art. The problem with children is they do what they're told, or they don't. Either way, it's a problem. I poured a half bottle of gin into the sink this morning. The problem with telling you this is now you want to know why. The problem is I can't tell you. Motivation has never been my strong suit. I also don't believe in intent. All that matters is outcome. Not every consequence is intended. There ought to be a rule. I was going to say something about blood, or bone, or flesh, but I'm afraid you would have gotten the wrong idea. The problem is, you think this is a narrative. It's human, this need to find order where none exists. Fire does not have this problem. This is a Michigan poem about coming back to Michigan. It's called Rock, Paper, Scissors, Toast. Does it take long to get used to pointing at the palm to indicate where we live now? We like to brag about the produce. We take credit for the lakes. We are surprised when we realize our children will think of this as home. Lack of loyalty is the privilege of the new arrival. This has less to do with any particular state, more to do with the length of time it takes to write everything down. Our grandparents die, keep dying until they are gone. At the funerals, we blend in, say little, compare shoes with the deceased, play ridiculous games with precocious nieces, cousins, somehow removed. Toast always loses. Then why would anyone choose toast? Just in case. And this is the poem that Ed mentioned earlier. That I know you like this poem, so I definitely had to read this one tonight. It occurred to me today that I will probably die in Michigan. Maybe on a dune overlooking a lake. Maybe during a snowstorm in a pothole between innings of a Tigers game on the front lawn of a Dutch Reformed church during the Cherry Festival surrounded by tulips. In this state, we are never more than 6 miles from fresh water. In this state, we are not fit to judge the motives of our neighbors, but we speak with great authority on the nature of pleasantness. Well-made furniture, skinned animals. There's blood under the pine straw of our history, bullet holes in the city limit signs. We created more perfect unions than we laid everyone off. My life here is my life here. My parents met an hour, from where I sleep with my wife or stay up too late to watch Criminal Minds, the same choice every night, or at least the same illusion of the same choice. Narrative is a kind of cage, as state lines are convenient truth, plot hole, invasive species. It's snowing again, and we're all complaining. Every hour starts with a victim, ends with a rescue, the opposite of all our lives. And I'll just read two more. I think it's traditional, right? Are you supposed to give the 2-poem warning?
2-poem warning.
Yeah. I know that it's a thing. I know that I try not to do it, and then I do it anyhow. 2-poem warning. This is called Looking at Men. It's after Ileana Rocha, who's a poet. She's at Western Michigan right now, and she's a terrific writer. And she has a poem called Looking at Women. And so this was inspired by her. It's called Looking at Men. The world teaches us there's nothing to see here, only everything that matters. The world teaches us to fear what desires us, a matter of survival. The world's pedagogy has not evolved lately. All armpit hair and biceps and bigger is better. Doesn't matter if a man's wearing a 3-piece that costs more than your car, or a neon vest, or a prison jumpsuit. He has a right to the space you occupy. A memory. Junior high baseball tryouts, this boy making fun of my name. He was a running back and special teams star, fast and strong and angry all the time, popular and dangerous. He died of heart failure at 42, but of course we didn't know that. On this day, all that mattered was that we both knew he would be the starting center fielder once he finished shredding me. It's how things work, how they have always worked. When I tried ignoring him, willing myself invisible and mute, he dropped his glove and jogged toward me, spitting profanity. We were boys, but he saw what it meant to be a man. No problem aggression couldn't solve. Flex and fist, cock and rock and stomp out weakness. I did not make the team that year, or the next. In porn, the men are supposed to be invisible. Who wants to focus on that dangle and flop and hairy flesh? Women are the centerpiece. And yet, it is the men whose pleasure is privileged, whose erection lets us know it's time to begin, whose ejaculation lets us know what success looks like. This is what the world teaches us, and I'm exempt from nothing. I love muscles swelling under sleeves. A beer gut means you make the rules. Hairy forearms are a ticket to all the back rooms in all the land. Another junior high memory. Selecting the yearbook, who's who, most likely to, and all that. Asked to vote for best looking guy, I picked the starting quarterback. A dark-haired boy who treated me with contempt. He was taller than I, stronger, a better athlete, already at ease on the planet. Once, I sat behind him in the bleachers at a high school game while he made out with the dance squad girl. She caught me watching, smirked, "Do you have a problem?" Well, sure, who doesn't? But of course, I said nothing, looked away, chastened and hungry. It was her I wanted, but him I envied. There is zero chance this man remembers me. But here I am. Not being him still shapes what I think of myself. I cannot believe how stupid I am. I cannot believe I'm more than halfway through with this life and still molded out of 9th grade humiliations. I do not dare to admit weakness. I cannot tell the truth about want. I am not this body. I am not this sex. I am not strong enough to be anything else. And then a few years ago, the poet Aubrey Rich and the bluegrass musician Earl Scruggs died within a few days of each other. And they were both important artists to me in very different ways, and never had linked them before in my mind, but then when they died so close to each other, I began thinking about them together. And so this is called Earl Scruggs and Aubrey Rich Share a Cab for the Afterlife. Seasons changing, always. The only mistake is expecting something more profound. This vehicle could not be more ordinary. Dirty yellow taxi, on-duty sign aglow, driving just a little too fast through the confusion, though not getting anywhere any sooner. Previous passengers have scrawled names on the seats and walls, making their marks wherever they found room. Some with hearts around their names, plus signs connecting lovers, flourishes under certain letters. The driver has the radio on, but we do not understand the language. His phone keeps ringing, but he's considerate enough not to answer. We deserve at least that much care. Outside is cityscape, all heartbeat and sidewalk. Outside is a mountaintop thick with pine. Outside is noise and weather and the skeleton of our century. Behind us, a cloud of dust swells and rolls like the tide. Rooster tail, inflating balloon, invitation. Caption this. Capture what is familiar. The ink and string and rhythm of the ordinary, the beautiful, the both at once. We have nothing in common, only everything significant. Our fathers are not waiting for us. They are still somewhere in the shared past as we remember them, calling our names and offering the advice they never gave when we asked for it. Forgive us for what we may have wasted, for anything we did not get to in time. The road narrows, turns, a hill is crested. The pattern grows restless. The road is the illusion of a road. Something has changed. It's the season. We said that before. A pen, quick. Let us add our names. Let us say, we were here once. We were here. Thank you so much.